Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. My guest today took a trip to Paris in 2011. While she was there, she was visiting with her best friend, and they quickly realized something was missing from the tourism market. She wanted great pictures with her friend, but not to ask a stranger to take them. This gave her the idea to start a company called Flytographer, which specializes in working with local professional photographers to capture candid moments of visitors. The company has grown to 500 photographers and is in 300 cities around the world. We've done more than 35,000 shoots to date. Today, I sit down to talk about business and creativity with Nicole Smith. So welcome to the show, Nicole. I'm so happy to have you here. And I just was reading that you have reached the top 500 companies in America, fastest growing. That's huge. I'm so excited for us.
Oh, thank you, Crystal. It's great to be here.
You were one of the first people I reached out to when I moved to Paris, and I was like, I need work as a photographer. And I was Googling and your site popped up, Flytographer. I was like, what is this? What are they doing? Give me work. And we had a one-on-one interview over Skype, I remember. And then next thing I knew, the company has exploded. You guys have sent me so much work. I love working with you. I love our team. I love our events that we do every year. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about how Paris made this come together. I mean, the whole thing started in Paris. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. The birthplace of Flytographer was Paris. That's right. So I used to work for Microsoft, and I got one day my boss said, "Hey, I need to go to Paris and to do this video shoot for like a telecom client." And so I was super excited. My best friend in the world lives in Copenhagen, so I said, "Why don't you come meet me for 2 days after my work is done, and we'll have 2 days without, husbands or kids to like walk around Paris and soak it up." And so we were doing just that. And it was just magical. Like, can you imagine, I know this is your life, but for most of us, it's like, imagine walking around Paris with and no agenda and just like, you haven't seen each other in a while. So it was just this opus moment for us. And we thought, okay, we should capture a memory because we're having so much fun. And when we go back to our, regular jobs and our regular lives on a rainy October, we're going to want to look back at a memory. So we did what everybody does. We take out our iPhone and, took some selfies. And it, with selfies, often it's like this big floating head. You can't even really see what's behind you. And so we'd look at the photos and it just didn't capture any of Paris and the magical architecture. So then we'd ask a stranger. And so you find someone trustworthy, you give them your phone. And then it's this kind of like awkward pose, stiff, shot. And, half the time you've got 6 chins or your head's cut off completely. Again, like didn't capture what we were seeing, what we were feeling. And so the next day she had a local friend that met us for brunch, and I gave her my iPhone and I just said, could you take some shots of us, but like from a distance? So, I don't want it to just be our heads. I want it to be like us with our backs to the camera, walking down the cobblestone streets, with all this amazing Parisian architecture all around us. That's what I want to capture. Like what that third character in the story, the city. And so she did that for like 20 minutes. We'd walk around and we'd go up on the bridge. She'd stay down the bank. And when I looked at my phone after, I literally had goosebumps because she had captured the spirit of our trip in a way that was just impossible without that third party vantage point. And so in that moment, I thought, well, this is the best souvenir I'm going to bring back from this trip. And then I thought, well, how would I accomplish this on a future trip? Because I don't want to bring back stuff. I just want to bring back memories. So that was how Flytographer got started.
I think it's so wild how that was 2012?
2012. Actually, no, that was 2011, that
It
trip.
was 2011. I mean, look how far you've come. It's crazy. And I know that travel is kind of on stop right now, but we're planning for the future where people are not going to stop traveling for eternity. And how wild is it to like top the charts and fastest growing companies, even during these hard times? I'm really inspired by that. And we joke a lot about you saying, I'm not a photographer. You're the brains behind the operations here. Do you consider yourself a creative person?
That's interesting. You let my secret out, but yeah, I'm taking photography classes on the side now because it's something that I do want to get better at. But definitely I've been more of kind of the marketing, ideas kind of side of the business and in solving problems for customers. And I would say, even though I'm not a painter or, traditional kind of artist in that way, I think I am creative and I come up with like ideas all the time. And my challenge is like my poor team. I have like a new idea every day is like, how do I like filter the ideas and not chase every idea because there's just like, I see so many opportunities all the time.
Yeah, I think that's a problem for so many creative people because we're kind of flaky and all over the place and we're like, oh, I have this idea, I have this idea. But we have to kind of narrow that down, like you
Mhm.
just said. And it's so hard because, especially for someone running a business with so many people involved, it's all kind of falling on you to be like, okay, what's going to work? How can we all, make money right now? And it's hard to like pull in those ideas and those dreams a little bit. So I guess you have a team that kind of helps you with that.
Yeah, I have a team, a very patient team that helps me. And, even right now with everything that's going on and travel being paused, we're working on a couple of really interesting new projects. And, it kind of brings me back to the early days when we were just starting Flytographer and we didn't have a lot of people or a lot of money, but we had so many great ideas. And so there's something kind of interesting about getting back to that ideation stage or where it's all grit and muscle and like creativity. I personally thrive in those environments where you're just like, okay, here's a blank piece of paper. What can we do now? And, the teams for my team, it's like, well, let's focus on doing one thing and doing it really well and then testing it. And does it do well? Then let's double down because my natural instinct is to just like try many, many things at once.
Yeah, but that's what creativity is all about. And it's obvious that you are a creative person. That's why I always laugh when you're like, oh, I'm not a photographer and I run this photography company, but you're a creative at the end of the day. I mean, obviously, it's shocking to me how many people I talk to. They're like, oh, I'm not creative. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're a human. It's sure. And I'm curious, how do you define creativity?
Well, I think creativity is kind of in my mind, you see things that maybe others don't see and you bring them to life. You bring them to life in the real world. So that's how I think of creativity.
And obviously, it sounds like you were a bit of a Instagram influencer spirit even before that was a thing, because what we're doing with vacation photos is taking natural, candid shots of people in beautiful places. So I think we're going to dub you like the original influencer, Nicole.
I'll take it.
And how would you define what we do as far as like people are like, what is vacation photography? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So, how I describe Flytographer is it's a marketplace that connects travelers with local photographers who really know the city well. And we all go on these big trips. Right now, obviously it's paused, but like, when people travel and they spend a lot of money to go to specific places and they come back with these mediocre, I call them fast food selfies that don't really capture the beauty of what they're seeing and what they're feeling. And so Flytographer allows people to connect with a local who knows the streets really well, but also is a trained photographer and artist and can take incredible photos, beautiful lighting, take them to pockets of the city they may not discover on their own otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And come home with this like souvenir that you're going to cherish for, it's going to be well worthy. But also you've spent an hour rubbing elbows with a local. And so, you're learning these great insider city tips. And I think that's what's the magic behind what everyone in our community does with Flytographers. You get this great memory, but you're also getting to like spend an hour with a local and see how they live. And that's why a lot of us travel in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's a huge selling point for what we do because at the end of the day, creativity is all about connection. And I love, the people we meet and a lot of them become friends. And
Mhm.
people, a lot of times they come to these cities and, they're lonely, whether they're a solo traveler or maybe you're just getting sick of your husband or whatever. It's kind of fun to just hang out with a local and laugh and have a good time. And I really love that about our customers. What were some of the obstacles along your journey to creating Flytographer?
I would say like in the early days, the one of the biggest challenges was we were the first company to build this marketplace, and so there wasn't an existing global vacation photography marketplace. So getting the word out and awareness, but also having people understand and educate them about the concept in general. So that this is a thing and that, here's why this would be great for you. So those were some of the challenges in the early days. And I feel like people either just like inherently got it, like, oh my gosh, that's like the best idea. I love that. Or it just wasn't for them. Like, why would I want a photographer? And, honestly, it was, I think women just in general, not always, tended to gravitate towards the concept more. And I think that's because women are often the chroniclers of memories in our lives. They're the ones that are capturing. I know for like a lot of the moms too, they're the ones trying to capture the family photo. And so they got why it was a problem. And yeah, I totally lost my train of thought. What was the question?
Don't even worry about it. We'll edit that out. I was just thinking about what you were talking about. I forgot what we were talking about too. I'm like, oh, I like that. Yeah. I said obstacles.
Oh
What
yeah,
were your obstacles?
obviously the big obstacle was just like in general, like we were creating a market that didn't exist. So like, how do you get awareness? How do you educate people? But we had no money either. So when I started the company, was still working full time at Microsoft, and Flytographer was something I did at night and on weekends and kind of stolen moments while raising my kids and working full time. And so I think that to kind of get awareness and to, get out there in the marketplace, it's really hard if you don't have a budget or you don't have a lot of time or a team to work on things. So we didn't grow as fast in the first year or two because there just weren't the resources behind it. But what we saw happening pretty early on was, I think that we built a product that was really good and people really loved the experience. And we focused on hiring photographers who were not only fantastic photographers, but just had great personalities and were truly excited to host people from around the world, around their city, and tell them about it. And because we created, such a great experience, we grew through word of mouth and referrals and repeat business in those early years. So although it was slow because, the obstacle of not having money, we weren't venture backed, trying to get, attention and as a new brand in a new category that didn't exist. Those were all like, they were like Sisyphean at times, but it was sort of like this slow, steady, not the, what they call the hare versus the tortoise. We're definitely the tortoise. And I think it was just that we were focused on like a great experience. And then people just start talking about you and telling their friends.
Yeah, and it was a totally new territory, like you said, like you were exploring this, trying to figure out how to make it work and like at the forefront of it. And I think it's interesting that you touched about the marketing because that's the problem that so many artists struggle with is the fact they don't know how to sell ourselves. We're like, oh, we really are passionate about this. We're really good at this, but how do I make people know about me? And it's a struggle. I mean, that's why I feel like it's a good team with the photographers and what you do because you get us the exposure, which is something we all struggle. And still, I mean, every day we're trying to get more exposure. And I'm curious, what were some of the resources that helped you along the way? Like, what were some things that really helped you figure all this out?
Yeah, I think that because it was just me in the early days, I just kind of dove in and tried to understand some of the channels. So like, didn't even have Instagram or Facebook page, like a business Facebook page before Flytographer. So I would just get in and tinker underneath the hood and play around to try to like understand how it worked. Read a lot of blogs, and it was all like self-taught, trial by fire, and talked to as many smart people that I could to kind of get their insight and get their advice. And it's amazing how many people are really willing to help you out along the way and give you advice or share lessons. And so that's something that I'll always remember. But I think the other thing was I focused a lot on PR in the early days and like press. And so, again, not having a budget, not having a built-in audience, I would do things like I would drop a lot of comments on blogs and articles everywhere, all like guerrilla style all over the internet. And this one day, this was like a really exciting day. It was probably like 4 months into launching. This one day, a writer for NBC / Today Show saw my comment and sent me a message. And I opened it up and I could like barely believe it. It was so exciting. And she said, "Hey, I just read about I saw your comment about vacation photography marketplace. I'd love to ask you a few questions." And I was like, "That sounds great." And I sent her my phone number. And she didn't call that day, but then she called the next day, and I was actually at the doctor because my son had a like raging ear infection.
Oh God.
The doctor, and my phone rings, and I could tell it was her. And it was one of those moments as balancing kids and balancing a business, or I had to take the call, and I was just like, "Hi, I'm really sorry, but I can't do the interview. I'm in the middle of this, but can I call you in 1 hour?" And and then I just sort of like exhaled, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that's totally fine." So we got home, my son was like in bed, everything was good there, and I called her and we did the interview. And I remember because it was like a Friday night, and then she published the story, and it launched on the Monday morning. It launched, and I still have a screenshot of this. I'll have to send it to you. We launched on the homepage of today.com, the Today Show, which, as you know, is a really big show. And it was also on NBC, but we were literally, there's like three tiles or thumbnails on the top. And the first one was Prince Harry did something. The second one was like Angelina Jolie did something. And the third one was Flytographer, like a photo from Paris. And I just thought, we've made it.
Oh my gosh, your big break. I love it. It should have been like Brad Pitt was next. No, it's Flytographer.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, obviously that doesn't change your business completely, but it was like a sign from above, like, keep going. This is like, there's something here. And we had a flood of photographers apply after seeing us there. And we had, some bookings come through it. But it was also like this kind of credibility stamp that Azil put on the website, like, featured. And
yeah, we're a real company, guys.
Yeah. So when I realized that, then I started thinking, okay, how else do I kind of get, some press amplification of what we're doing? And when you're a new industry in a new category, there's something interesting about that because they're always looking for new things to write about. So
yeah, they need content. I mean, obviously this is completely new. Yeah. And has rejection ever affected your creative process? Like you've spoken about, raising money, trying to figure this out, people saying, no, this isn't working in the beginning. I mean, obviously we're more stable now, but people saying, oh, that's a dumb idea, or I don't get it. Did that ever make you feel like, oh, maybe this is not right?
Oh, I got so much rejection in the early, like so much. And from like people of all walks. So, even my family who like loves you and wants the best for you. They, like my dad in particular, who I adore, but he thought I had won like the job lottery by working in marketing at Microsoft and could not understand why I would step away from that to launch a business about taking photos of people. He just was like, you're doing your thing. What are you doing? And I remember he was talking to other people that were like, yeah, I don't really get it. But like, I think my funniest story is I ended up talking to this one advisor, investor person in our local community. And there's a bunch of entrepreneurs that were just starting out. And we're sitting around in a diner and, sharing our story. And so I told him, so we have this marketplace and, we connect travelers with photographers. And his reaction was so visceral. It was like, well, I'd never pay for that. Like that's, I'd never pay for that. Like that's, very good price. And he was just like immediately like a hard no. And I remember feeling like kicked in the stomach by that. And it's like you're kind of holding your baby out to someone and they're like, yeah, your baby's ugly. Like,
yeah, you have an ugly baby.
But the funny thing is, the next day, this same investor dropped me an email and he said, Yeah, so I told my wife about Flytographer and your idea, and she thinks it's genius. So I guess maybe I need to think about it a little bit more. So,
See, you were pitching to men, that was the problem.
yeah. Mm.
And how did you build confidence when these people would say those things to you? I feel like confidence is obviously a muscle you need to work. So, what did you do to kind of combat that?
I think that, you have to build resilience because you're never going to please the world. It's not going to be something everyone's going to love, and you got to find your audience and find your people that love it. The thing that helped me the most was every time I'd hear your baby is ugly, or I'm not interested in Flytographer, or what is this idea? I would go back and read customer reviews, or I'd read messages from photographers, because I was getting both ends of the spectrum, like the utter rejection kicked in the teeth and like the outpouring of love. Like, this was the highlight of my trip, like meeting Crystal in Paris. Like, she taught me all these great tips about the cities, and my photos are the best. I'm going to tell everyone I know. Or photographers saying, nah, I can pay my rent now. I've been getting all this extra work that I wasn't getting before. I would go and write over index on reading those, and that would be how I would, because I knew we were on the right path, because it mattered to some people.
Yeah, you just need to find your tribe. That's a reoccurring theme in this podcast for all artists is find those cheerleaders, even when you're not believing in yourself. It's like, I need help.
Yeah.
Help me, I'm poor. Do you feel that you chose your passion or did it choose you?
I always, I ask this question a lot, and I just say, like, I just couldn't not do it. Once the idea implanted itself in my head, I thought about it for 9 months and was like, I don't have time for a startup, or, I'm just like, I'd also just gotten over like a really heavy, hard divorce, and things were calm for the first time in a couple of years, and like had balance, and things were great. So the thought of like jumping into an unknown startup with crazy hours was just like overwhelming. So I kind of pushed against it for about 9 months. What happened was this idea was just inside me and growing and growing and growing, and like trying to burst out every single day. And the only way I can explain it is that I just couldn't not do it. Like, it just was so loud inside of me and so overwhelming that I had to do something about it. And Crystal, I've had ideas in the past. They've never been at that level. So I guess I think that's how I'd answer that.
I think that's a great answer because a lot of the creative guests talk about whispers, but it sounds like you had a yell, like you had someone shouting at you.
I had to yell, exactly.
It was not a whisper. There was not, they were like, you better show up. I guess it had to yell because, like you said, you're an idea person. So they had to make this one stick out more. There's a lot of whispers going on in there.
Yeah.
This one, I'm curious if you've been asked this before. If you could change one aspect of our society through your work, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think that one of the things that I think about a lot is, the fact that we have all these people around the world that work for Flytographer. We have all these customers that come from all corners of the earth. If Flytographer can contribute more to helping people realize that, we're all way more alike than different, and, expressing through our photography, like the diversity of people of all ages, races, gender, sexual orientation, whatever. We all have moments where we're celebrating joy, or we're celebrating family, or we're celebrating together, and trying to represent that to the world through our photography on our website, and creating those connections between our customers and our photographers. So people do realize that we're all more alike than we realize. I just think that travel, there's like a great Mark Twain quote about travel, but I just think that it is the cure for a lot of the problems out there. And if we can play a role in helping make that more visible, then that's something that is really important to me.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, travel definitely opens the mind, and now it's more accessible to the world, and everybody is seeing how much we are all alike. So I think that's a very good thing for society.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the best advice you've been given?
The best advice that I have been given. I think the best advice I've been given has been to just focus obsessively on delivering a great customer experience, and then your product will help sell itself. And I really, really believe that. I think that, all the great marketing in the world can't sell like a dud product. I think that if you start from like what is really going to help solve a problem for our customers, help inject delight into their lives and create an experience that they want to talk about to other people, that they want to do again, over index on that and put your resources towards like that. And so for us, what that means is, how do we have a community of photographers that really love what they do and that is highly, curated by us? I think we hire less than 3% of photographers who apply. But, as you know, there's a lot of gig economy jobs out there. And unfortunately, in some cases, they're not always treated the way they should be. And so a big part of our philosophy from the start was that we want to partner with our photographers. We want them to feel like this is a great value exchange and that they're excited to be working with us, but also that there's that extra level of like the connection within the community members and having like a peer group globally that they can relate to, that they can, connect with and meet up with. I think that helps bring it back to that customer piece of, if someone's happy to be doing the job, you can really see that, and that ends up delighting the customer. And that, I think, is a big secret of why Flytographer's been successful. So I'd say that's probably the best piece of advice I got.
I think that's great advice. I mean, you definitely don't make us feel like a number, and our global meetups are so fun. We don't have time to get into all the amazingness that happens when we all get together, but it's really a great energy. And I think we do feel loved by the company. Like you said, a lot of us freelancers can kind of fall by the wayside in that respect. So it's good to separate yourself that way.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as people who are looking to discover their creative gifts, maybe they think, okay, I don't have a lot of ideas, I'm not good at anything. Like, what would you say to those people? How would you help them to find what they love?
I think that the best opportunities come when it's that intersection between doing something that you really love, that you're passionate about, and doing something that is of value to others. And then obviously the nirvana of all that is you also get paid for it. Finding where the overlap is between the things that you're really, really passionate about, but also that can bring some value to others. And then you're going to create stuff that I think is really going to be powerful. So
it's all one big circle.
It's one big circle.
And do you define someone as a visionary? Is there someone who really sticks out in your mind as a visionary?
Oh, well, yeah, I think obviously there's lots of examples. I think of like business visionaries and, athletes as well. So, some of my favorites are, I'm a big fan of Serena Williams. I've been watching the Michael Jordan documentary, and it's been really interesting just to kind of watch his journey. But from an entrepreneur's perspective, I really love a couple people in particular right now. One is Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, and her whole entrepreneurial journey from bootstrapping and all the rejection she faced to now she owns this company 100%. And then there's a Canadian entrepreneur that I'm just like, she's my kind of like brand crush right now. And her name is Joanna, and she's the founder of a company called Knix. It's spelled Knix. And they have panties and bras and like, lounge pants and whatnot. But what I love about her brand is they represent women of all sizes, women of all ages, ethnicities. And it's rare to see that. I mean, it's kind of like the exact opposite of what you'd see with like a Victoria's Secret ad. It's real women, and the way they authentically communicate with their customers. I find it really inspiring. I'm also like a big fan of their products, so they have like a great customer experience. But I love the narrative and how they're putting the brand out there in the world and the impact it's having.
It's so much nicer to see, especially with social media. That's been a big change for me, is seeing real women on the internet. Because I think with Instagram, with Facebook, we're finally starting to see bodies of all shapes and sizes.
And honestly, it's just good business, right? Like you
Yeah.
this huge portion of your audience, and like it's just bad business on top of like just not being, the right thing to do. So it's great to see more brands going in that direction.
It sounds like a lot of people who are validating their madness too, like the Spanx lady who everyone's like, "You're crazy. What is this crap?" And it's like coming back to vacation photos. What is that?
Yeah.
We're constantly validating ourselves.
Yeah.
And what future projects are you excited for?
Couple things that we're that we're working on confidentially. One of the things that I can share right now is we're working on some online photography courses that will be led by some of our photographers around the world. And I can't really tell you too much right now, but that will be launching hopefully in the next month or so. So keep an eye out for that.
I'm really excited to learn more about that, and also to keep seeing beautiful photographs of people around the world. The Instagram page for Flytographer is it's like a joy page. It's just so much happiness. And that brings me to my final question. Where can we find you online?
You can find us at flytographer.com. And you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Flytographer. And soon you'll be able to find us at our Shopify store where we're going to sell some travel-inspired merchandise like tote bags and city puzzles and things like that. So you'll be able to find us there soon too.
It was so great to talk to you today, Nicole. Thank you for giving us your time and your knowledge and for spreading so much joy with travel photography.
Thanks, Crystal. It's been so much fun.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.